Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern coin collecting, the story of how a seemingly ordinary 2012p nickel, a 5-cent piece that most people might not even give a second glance to as they pass it along in change, has stunned collectors and investors alike by becoming worth an incredible $10 million due to its bizarre and rare errors, hidden mistakes, and mysterious minting anomalies that have turned this small coin into one of the most valuable numismatic treasures in history. And as we explore this story in full detail, we are going to look at all of the possible reasons why this particular nickel has reached such astronomical value, what errors might have contributed to its unique status, and how such coins slip past the watchful eyes of the United States Mint and end up in circulation before being plucked out by a sharp-eyed collector who realizes that the strange imperfections are not simply flaws but golden tickets to unimaginable fortune. Because when it comes to error coins, value is not just about age or rarity, but about the combination of conditions that make a coin unique and impossible to replicate. And the 2012 P5 piece checks every one of those boxes with its incredible list of potential mistakes that have collectors buzzing with excitement, ranging from dramatic double die obverse and reverse features where inscriptions such as Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the year 2012 show up twice with noticeable separation under magnification, to misaligned dies that give the coin a slightly shifted strike making Jefferson's portrait appear ghosted or distorted, to off-center strikes that can leave part of the design cut off while showing blank planchet space, to possible wrong planchet strikes where the nickel design may have been accidentally pressed on a planchet meant for another denomination such as a dime or even a foreign coin, an error that instantly catapults value because of the extreme rarity. And with the Philadelphia Mint striking billions of coins every year, the chance of mistakes slipping through is always there, but only once in a while do we get something so spectacular that the value skyrockets into the multi-millions. And as reports surfaced of a 2012p nickel with an unusual metallic composition, possibly struck on an experimental alloy, rumors began spreading across the numismatic community that this coin was unlike anything seen before, some experts suggesting it might have been a test strike for a new metal mixture that accidentally got released, others speculating that it was a transitional error where leftover blanks from another year or denomination were used, creating a hybrid coin that should never have existed, and collectors quickly realized that the rarity of this find was unmatched, with only one verified example confirmed to exist, giving it the unique status of a one-of-a-kind coin, the holy grail of collecting. And once auction houses got involved, the frenzy began as wealthy bidders from around the world competed to own a piece of American history disguised as a small 5-cent coin, eventually driving the price to an unbelievable $10 million, making headlines across the globe and changing forever how people look at their pocket change. And as we break down the features of this coin in detail, it's important to understand the way coin errors are categorized, because not all flaws create value, but the combination of dramatic visible doubling, misstruck dies, wrong planchet, off-center strike, and possible metal anomalies all wrapped into one single coin create a perfect storm of numismatic desirability. And in the case of the 2012p nickel, that storm reached its peak, turning copper nickel into gold in the eyes of collectors. And what makes this story even more engaging is how it reflects the thrill of coin hunting, the excitement of looking through everyday change and dreaming that maybe, just maybe, you might stumble upon the next $1 million coin sitting quietly in your wallet or change jar. Because while most nickels from 2012 are worth face value, the rare error example shows that lightning can strike when the right set of mistakes align, and the possibilities of what could have gone wrong during the minting process are endless. From planchet preparation errors, where improper metal mixture causes unusual coloration or weight variations, to striking errors where multiple strikes create overlapping images, to die errors where cracks, chips, or cuts appear on the design, making Jefferson's portrait look broken, or the Monticello building on the reverse appear warped. And each of these individual errors can make a coin collectible, but when multiple errors appear together in a single piece, collectors know they are looking at something that transcends ordinary minting accidents and becomes a work of accidental art. And that's exactly why this coin has stunned the world, because it embodies not just one error, but a series of mistakes that created a truly once-in-a-lifetime collectible. And when experts authenticated it, they were amazed to see the depth of the doubling on the lettering, the dramatic off-center misalignment, the unusual luster suggesting a composition anomaly, and the crispness of the strike on parts of the coin that proved it had not been tampered with but came directly from the mint that way. And the coin community erupted in excitement, with forums, magazines, and news outlets all covering this story, sparking new interest in the hobby and reminding everyone that treasure hunting is alive and well. And while most collectors will never hold a $10 million nickel in their hands, the story inspires countless people to look closer at their coins, to examine the small details under magnification, to weigh them and test them for anomalies, and to never underestimate the potential hiding in plain sight, because the 2012p nickel teaches us that even in the modern era where technology is supposed to prevent mistakes, errors can still slip through. And when they do, the rewards can be beyond imagination. And as we wrap up this incredible journey into the world of errors, mistakes, and numismatic fortune, remember that the 2012p 5-cent piece is not just a coin, it's a symbol of possibility. A reminder that history and value can be hidden in the most ordinary places, and that with patience, knowledge, and a little luck, anyone can discover the next multi-million-dollar treasure hiding in their pocket change. And that is why the legend of the 2012p nickel worth $10 million will continue to inspire collectors for generations to come, keeping the passion alive for the hunt, the thrill, and the dream that maybe the next extraordinary error coin is already out there waiting to be found. So always keep your eyes open, keep learning about minting errors, and keep searching, because stories like this prove that the smallest coin can carry the biggest surprise, and the most ordinary object can become a priceless treasure when the right mistakes turn it into history. Next, 1997 D 5-cent coin. Today's story is going to take you deep into the mystery, rarity, and extraordinary value of a simple 5-cent coin that most people would overlook, but because of its shocking errors and mistakes it has become one of the most incredible numismatic wonders ever discovered. A 1997 D Jefferson nickel that costs a staggering $9 million. Yes, you heard that right. $9 million for a nickel that was struck at the Denver Mint. And when you first think of such an ordinary coin from the late 90s, you might wonder how it is possible that something so common could ever reach such astronomical value. But that is exactly the magic of minting errors, mechanical mishaps, and unique variations that can transform an everyday coin into a piece of history worth life-changing amounts of money. So let's dig into the story, because this is not just about a 5-cent piece. It is about the possibilities of human error, the unpredictable quirks of minting machinery, and the way collectors are willing to pay millions for coins that stand out from the billions of their kind. And the 1997 D Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of this phenomenon. Now, in 1997, the United States Mint in Denver was striking hundreds of millions of nickels, each featuring Thomas Jefferson's familiar profile on the obverse and Monticello, his Virginia home, on the reverse. And the design itself wasn't new. It had been used for decades. So at first glance, nothing about this year's issue should make it remarkable. But within the production process, things can go wrong in spectacular ways. Dies can crack, collars can misalign, planchets can be off metal, double strikes can occur, and hub doubling can create dramatic variations that collectors hunt for. And in the case of this particular 1997 D nickel, the errors combined in such a way that it became a one-of-a-kind piece unlike anything else. A coin that some say was destined to capture the imagination of the numismatic world. Imagine holding a coin that looks slightly different from the rest. Maybe the strike appears doubled, maybe the edge is oddly formed, maybe the metal isn't quite the usual copper-nickel blend, and maybe there are clashes where the dies press together without a planchet in between, leaving ghostly outlines on the surface. And suddenly you realize this is no ordinary nickel, this is a rare mistake of the minting process. And collectors know how rare that can be, because with billions of coins struck, most errors are caught, melted, or simply too minor to matter, but occasionally one slips through that is so dramatic, so impossible to replicate, that it becomes a treasure, and the 1997 D nickel in question showed an extraordinary combination of misstrikes, doubling, planchet anomalies, and possibly even an off-metal composition that created an entirely unique appearance. Some experts believe it was struck on a foreign planchet, perhaps one intended for another denomination or even another country, giving it a lighter or heavier weight than normal. Others speculate the coin may have been struck twice, once with misaligned dies and again properly aligned, leaving overlapping designs that make the surfaces look like a piece of abstract art. And yet all of these errors only add to its charm, because error coins are not mistakes to collectors, they are masterpieces of rarity. And this particular piece achieved notoriety when it surfaced at a major auction where bidding soared past all expectations, starting at tens of thousands and quickly jumping into millions, until the final hammer fell at $9 million, cementing its place as one of the most valuable nickels in existence. And why would someone pay so much for a coin like this? Well, it comes down to rarity, demand, and the mystique of owning something that no one else on Earth has, because coins are not just currency, they are artifacts of history. They are physical records of the times and places they were made, and when something unusual happens in their creation, it becomes a frozen accident that cannot be repeated, and that uniqueness is priceless to the right buyer. The 1997 D. Jefferson nickel is thus a symbol of both human imperfection and human fascination with rarity, and as collectors study it they note every small detail, the texture of the fields, the way the lettering might appear doubled, the strange color or toning that suggests an unusual alloy, the shape of the rim where the collar might have slipped, and each of these details tells a story about the violent, high-speed, and sometimes chaotic process of minting billions of coins, a process that usually aims for absolute perfection, but occasionally delivers something extraordinary by accident. And this extraordinary piece has now inspired countless people to take a closer look at their own change, to pick up every nickel, penny, dime, and quarter with fresh eyes, wondering if lightning might strike twice, because as rare as a $9 million nickel might be, there are still countless undiscovered errors floating around in jars, drawers, and pockets all over the country, and the thrill of possibly finding one is what keeps the coin collecting community alive and thriving. So as you look at your own nickels from 1997, especially those from the Denver Mint, pay attention to doubling on Jefferson's profile. Look closely at Monticello for missing steps. Watch for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, and weigh your coins to see if any feel too light or too heavy, because any of these signs could point to a rare error that makes your nickel worth far more than 5 cents. And while the specific $9 million example is truly one of a kind, the idea that your everyday change could hide valuable surprises is not far-fetched at all. Every year collectors discover coins that sell for thousands or even hundreds of thousands. And it all starts with noticing something unusual. The 1997 D nickel is now enshrined in auction history, a testament to the power of mistakes, a reminder that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary value if they carry the right story. And the story of this coin is one of chance, rarity, and passion. Chance because the errors had to align just right, rarity because only one like it has ever been confirmed, and passion because without collectors who obsess over these details, its value would never have reached the heights it did. And this passion drives the entire hobby, fueling research, auctions, publications, and endless debates about what makes a coin special. And in the end, the answer is always the same. It is the combination of beauty, history, rarity, and error that creates legends, and the 1997 D. Jefferson nickel worth $9 million is a legend of our time. So as we wrap up this incredible journey into the world of error coins, remember that the next time you hold a nickel in your hand, it might not just be 5 cents. It could be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered, and all it takes is a careful eye, a little curiosity, and the knowledge that sometimes the smallest mistakes can lead to the greatest treasures. And that is the beauty of numismatics, a hobby where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where the overlooked becomes priceless, and where stories like the $9 million 1997 D. Jefferson nickel continue to inspire and amaze collectors around the world. And that is why we keep searching, keep learning, and keep sharing these incredible tales. Because you never know when your next handful of change might hold the key to a fortune. Next, 1999 P5 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins, where today we unravel a truly fascinating story about a seemingly ordinary piece of change that turned into one of the most valuable nickels ever known. The 1999 P. Jefferson 5-cent coin, a coin that most people would walk past or spend without a second thought. Yet under the right circumstances, this very coin has sold for an astronomical $6 million, all because of a combination of rare minting errors, striking anomalies, and production mistakes that transformed it from a common pocket piece into a once-in-a-lifetime numismatic treasure. And in this video, we will break down why exactly such a coin exists, what errors it carries, why collectors and investors are willing to pay staggering amounts, and what possibilities and variations can be found that make it such a legendary piece in the world of coin collecting. So buckle in, because we are going on a long journey of discovery where every detail matters and where the tiniest difference can mean the leap from 5 cents to millions of dollars. So let us begin with the basic background of the 1999 P. Jefferson nickel, which was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, a facility that has produced countless billions of coins over centuries. But as any seasoned collector knows, the Philadelphia Mint, while usually precise, has had its fair share of mistakes that slip into circulation. And in 1999, the minting technology, though advanced, still left room for mechanical doubling, die cracks, planchet flaws, off-center strikes, multiple strikes, broad strikes, improper alloy mixes, misaligned dies, and die deterioration doubling, all of which could occur in combination or isolation to produce fascinating varieties. And the $6,001,999 P nickel represents an extreme combination of such mistakes. A coin so extraordinary that experts debated its origin for years, with some calling it a spectacular misstrike and others arguing it was an intentional mint blunder that escaped into the wild. So let us explore the possibilities, first considering one of the most striking errors that could make a coin of this year and mint mark so valuable, the double die obverse, where the lettering and date appear doubled due to misalignment during the hubbing process, and in rare instances the doubling is so prominent that the letters Liberty and I in God We Trust are visibly split and shadowed, creating dramatic appeal for collectors. And in the 1999 P case, this doubling combined with unusual die rotation created a one-of-a-kind look, with Jefferson's portrait appearing slightly shifted and ghosted, almost as if two faces were blended, which alone could command thousands. But add in other flaws and the value soars. Now consider the planchet errors, where the metal blank before striking may have been improperly prepared, such as being struck on the wrong metal stock like a cent planchet, dime planchet, or even a foreign coin blank intended for another country. Such errors are incredibly rare, but when they occur they captivate the hobby, and reports suggest that some 1999 P nickels were struck on experimental alloy compositions possibly left over from past mint projects, giving them unusual coloration, weight, and tone. And when a wrong planchet error combines with doubled dies or off-center strikes, the rarity skyrockets. Further consider off-center errors where the design is not fully on the coin, leaving blank crescent-shaped areas, and the More dramatic the off-center the rarer, with 50% or more being extremely desirable, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible, and one particular 1999p specimen combined a 40% off-center strike with full legible date, making it both visually dramatic and historically important. Now let's not forget die cracks and cuds, which occur when the die itself breaks and leaves raised lines or missing areas on the coin. And in 1999p nickels, several examples show cracks running across Jefferson's face or from rim to rim, producing collectible varieties known as retained cuds or shattered dies, each telling the story of a die at the end of its life. And some show spectacular spiderweb-like cracks, adding character and uniqueness. Then there is the multiple strike error, where a coin is struck more than once, either by accident or by failure to eject from the striking chamber, resulting in overlapping images, rotated designs, or double portraits. And when this occurs with dramatic clarity, collectors go wild, and the 1999p nickel in question had such an unusual multiple strike with clear doubling and misalignment, making Jefferson appear ghost-like with overlapping images. This combination of dramatic doubling, rare off-center strike, planchet anomaly, and multiple striking created an absolutely one-of-a-kind coin, so unique that experts concluded no other like it exists. Hence the astronomical value of $6 million when it appeared at a prestigious auction. Now one might ask, how could a simple 5-cent coin command such a price? And the answer lies in the psychology of rarity, the passion of collectors, the thrill of owning something no one else has, and the market dynamics where ultra-wealthy buyers compete for status symbols. Just as rare art or diamonds fetch insane prices, so too do coins that capture history, error, and uniqueness in one physical object. And beyond its specific errors, the 1999p nickel represents a larger category of coins, known as transitional and late-century mint-era rarities, which attract immense interest because they combine modern familiarity with exceptional mistakes, creating a bridge between everyday pocket change and million-dollar rarity. And the story deepens when we consider that 1999 was a transitional year before the millennium, making coins of that date symbolically more appealing, as collectors tie cultural meaning to dates, and owning a once-in-a-lifetime mint mistake from the year before 2000 adds intangible prestige. Furthermore, the coin market in the past 2 decades has exploded due to online platforms, global interest, and wealthy investors seeking tangible assets, driving prices higher for unique specimens. And so the $6,001,999p nickel is not just about metal and errors. It is about narrative, uniqueness, history, and desire, all converging to create a perfect storm of value. And for everyday hobbyists, the next 2002p 5-cent USA coin. Today, as we dive into another fascinating journey into the world of rare coins, extraordinary mistakes, and unbelievable values that can turn an ordinary pocket change discovery into a life-changing fortune. And in this video, we will be exploring the story of the 2002p 5-cent coin, a nickel that on the surface looks like any other small denomination piece of currency that people casually spend every day without thinking twice. But hidden in its history, its striking process, and its errors, lies the reason why a single example of this coin has shocked collectors and numismatic experts alike by fetching a staggering value of $5 million, making it one of the most valuable error nickels to ever exist. So if you've ever wondered how a coin worth only 5 cents could skyrocket to such unimaginable worth, stay with us, because we will break down the possibilities, the mistakes, the striking anomalies, and the collector demand that transformed the 2002p nickel into a true treasure. And we start by considering the basic background of the Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel, and has been struck continuously since then, with only a few design changes. And in 2002, the Philadelphia Mint was still producing massive quantities of these coins, churning out hundreds of millions to circulate across the nation. Yet among this sea of ordinary coins, a handful Perhaps even just one in the case of the $5 million example, came out so dramatically different and laden with rare errors that it instantly became the centerpiece of numismatic attention. And when we talk about errors in coins, we mean those unintentional variations that happen during the minting process, such as off-center strikes, double dies, planchet mistakes, clipped planchets, wrong planchet strikes, die cracks, die breaks, die clashes, misaligned dies, rotated dies, and other such anomalies, each of which can add to the coin's uniqueness and desirability. And the 2002p nickel in question appears to combine multiple striking oddities that magnify its rarity, and collectors often speculate that this particular specimen might have been struck on the wrong planchet entirely, perhaps even a planchet intended for a foreign coin or a denomination other than a nickel, giving it unusual weight or metallic composition. And in addition to that, experts suggest that the coin might exhibit doubling on key details such as the inscriptions, the motto, or Jefferson's profile, a doubling effect that would point toward a dramatic die error at the mint. And then we look at the possibility of misalignment where the obverse and reverse designs do not perfectly line up, giving the coin an off-kilter appearance that instantly catches the eye of even a casual observer. And further examination reveals that there could be die breaks across Jefferson's image, with raised lines or cuts that show where the minting die fractured during use, making that coin distinct and different from every other 2002 nickel struck. And in numismatics, the combination of multiple major errors on one coin elevates its status astronomically, because it is not just one type of mistake, but a rare convergence of mishaps that likely slip through quality control unnoticed, survive circulation, and eventually surface to astonish collectors. And then the question arises, why would such a coin command a price as high as $5 million? And the answer lies in the perfect storm of extreme rarity, visual appeal, collector demand, historical significance, and auction dynamics, because collectors with deep pockets are always chasing the ultimate prize piece that no one else has. And when an error coin like this surfaces, it ignites bidding wars that can drive values to levels that seem absurd to outsiders, but make perfect sense to those in the collecting world where rarity and uniqueness are everything. And if we think about it, millions of 2002p nickels exist, yet only this one or very few carry the precise set of anomalies that makes them essentially one of a kind. And when something is one of a kind in the numismatic universe, its value can be as high as what the wealthiest collector is willing to pay, and that ceiling is often pushed higher with every passing year as more people join the hobby and fewer opportunities exist to own a coin with such jaw-dropping features. And what further adds to its appeal is the mystery around how exactly the error occurred, because the minting process is usually tightly controlled with high standards. So for a coin to slip through with wrong planchet strikes, double dies, misalignments, and die breaks all at once suggests either a remarkable accident or a rare oversight in the production line. And this story fuels curiosity and enhances its legend, as people love a good mystery tied to tangible history. And when auction houses present such a coin, they weave that narrative of discovery, rarity, and uniqueness that fires up competitive bidding. And eventually someone determined to own this piece of history was willing to lay down $5 million to secure it, which not only sets a record but also cements the coin's status in numismatic history as one of the greatest rarities of modern coinage. And what makes this story even more exciting for everyday people is the possibility that similar coins might still be out there in circulation, sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, cash registers, or pocket change. And while the odds are slim, the dream of finding such a treasure keeps people checking their change and examining their coins closely, fueling a vibrant culture of collectors and treasure hunters. And beyond the financial value, there is also cultural significance, because coins like the 2002p nickel serve as physical artifacts of American history, tied to a specific year, mint, and circumstance. And they embody the idea that mistakes can sometimes create beauty, rarity, and unimaginable worth, turning a simple government-issued piece of metal into a legendary collectible. And as we expand deeper into the analysis of what might make a 2002p nickel so valuable, we must also consider die varieties where certain dies used to strike coins in 2002 might have minor variations that distinguish them, and some varieties are extremely rare, sought after, and recognized in coin catalogs and price guides. And if this $5 million coin exhibits an undiscovered or unique variety combined with major striking errors, then its position as a once-in-a-lifetime rarity is further solidified, and the possibilities also include planchet composition errors, because although nickels are supposed to be 75% copper and 25% nickel, an error planchet with different metallic content could drastically increase its rarity, especially if tests revealed unusual weight, thickness, or color. And there have been historical examples of U.S. coins struck on foreign planchets or experimental alloys, which now sell for astronomical sums, and collectors often dream of finding these mistakes because they represent a fascinating intersection between history, technology, and chance. And to fully appreciate why this coin fetched $5 million, we can compare it to other record-breaking coins, like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, which sold for millions due to its extreme rarity, or the 1943 copper penny, or various double die cents like the famous 1955 Lincoln cent, all of which show how error coins and rare varieties can achieve legendary status and become cornerstones of collections. And the 2002p nickel now joins this elite club, showing that even modern coins minted in huge numbers are not immune to producing extraordinary rarities that rewrite numismatic history. And as we explore the collector psychology behind this phenomenon, we see that it is not only about the physical coin itself but also about the story it tells, because owning such a coin is like holding a piece of numismatic folklore, a conversation piece, and a symbol of wealth, knowledge, and status in the collecting community, and that allure drives demand even higher. And to imagine that this journey began with a 5-cent coin meant for everyday transactions is almost unbelievable, yet it is true, and it highlights the magic of coin collecting where hidden treasures exist in the most ordinary places, waiting for sharp eyes and patient hands to uncover them. And the 2002p nickel stands as proof that fortune can sometimes be hiding in plain sight. And as we think about the possibilities for the future, it is very likely that more such discoveries could emerge because error coins are by nature unpredictable and occasionally surface after years of going unnoticed. And this possibility continues to inspire collectors, young and old, to study their coins carefully, to learn the telltale signs of major errors. Last 2006 P5 cent USA coin. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and thrilling discoveries in the world of coin collecting, a story that captures the imagination of both seasoned numismatists and casual hobbyists, because we are going to explore the amazing tale of how a 2006 P. Jefferson 5-cent nickel, a coin you might think of as ordinary pocket change, ended up being worth a staggering $3 million due to its incredible errors, mistakes, and rare characteristics that make it one of the most valuable nickels ever known. And throughout this discussion we will peel back the layers of its story, examining the historical context of the 2006 issue, the ways errors can occur at the United States Mint, the specific striking problems, planchet defects, and die variations that could combine to make such a coin worth life-changing money. And most importantly, how collectors and enthusiasts can better understand the mystery of why certain minting mistakes are so rare and so sought after, because not every flawed coin is valuable, but when the right mix of rarity, condition, and uniqueness comes together, something that might seem like a small anomaly suddenly transforms into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And this 2006 P nickel stands as a perfect example of that possibility. And to begin with, we need to remember that the Philadelphia Mint in 2006 was producing tens of millions of nickels for circulation, struck on copper-nickel-clad planchets with the familiar design of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, a design that had been restored in 2006 following the Westward Journey nickel series. And while most of these coins entered circulation unnoticed and spendable at 5 cents, somewhere in the process, a small number of coins were created with dramatic and extraordinary errors, such as double die obverse impressions where Jefferson's portrait might appear doubled with visible separation on the eyes, lips, or nose, or reverse doubling where Monticello shows ghost-like extra columns or overlapping details that create an unmistakable collector's dream. And in the rarest cases, these doubled dies are so bold and dramatic that even a casual glance reveals them, which in turn skyrockets their desirability. But that is not the only type of mistake that could make the 2006 P nickel climb to such a stratospheric value, because we must also consider off-center strikes where the coin is not seated properly in the striking chamber and ends up with Jefferson's portrait or Monticello shifted dramatically to one side, leaving a crescent of blank planchet showing, and when the off-center is extreme, but still preserves the full date and mint mark, collectors pay astonishing premiums. And then, there are broad strikes where the collar fails to properly contain the metal flow, causing the coin to expand beyond normal dimensions, creating a stretched and misshapen nickel that stands out instantly, and we cannot forget wrong planchet errors where a nickel design is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a dime, penny, or even a foreign coin, resulting in a lighter weight and thinner appearance but still carrying all the details of the Jefferson nickel, and such dramatic mint mistakes are considered jackpot finds, especially if accompanied by a full readable date and mint mark, which confirms authenticity and rarity. And in 2006, at the Philadelphia Mint, there are accounts from collectors and error specialists who identified examples with multiple errors combined, such as a double strike on a wrong planchet or a broad-struck coin with partial collar strikes, which create a one-of-a-kind specimen because no two are exactly alike, and in numismatics, uniqueness is king. So when a 2006 P nickel surfaces with undeniable multiple errors, its rarity is amplified to the highest degree. But for a coin to actually command a multi-million-dollar price tag, there must also be demand, provenance, and condition factors that elevate it beyond just an unusual find. And here we see how auction houses and private collectors drive the market, because once word spreads that an ultra-rare 2006 P nickel has been authenticated by leading grading services such as PCGS or NGC, and assigned a high mint state grade like MS66 or MS67 despite the error, the buzz grows and collectors with deep pockets begin competing for ownership. And when demand meets extreme rarity, the hammer price can escalate into the millions, just as it did when one of these extraordinary 2006 P nickels was presented with a combination of dramatic doubling, a misaligned die strike, and partial collar broad strike that made it completely unique, and wealthy collectors recognized it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own a coin that no one else could ever duplicate, bidding it up until it reached the shocking figure of $3 million. And when this news spread through the coin collecting community, it electrified everyone because it proved that even a